you check the children? Show a little mad sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes. That is what
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Bienvenidos, Fright fans, and welcome to the horror show. I'm Jaime and Fuego, and doing a newer film review, although this is one that I actually got the chance to see before the holidays because of the fact that I had heard all the notoriety, and that was coming from a very limited release. I actually ended up having to drive fairly far a few weeks ago when I did watch this over the course of the Christmas season. That's Poor Things, man. Yeah, so Yorgos Lanthimos, yes! A guy that I have enjoyed since, really my favorite film of his is Killing of a Sacred Deer. I think that's the first one that really stuck in my head. The Lobster, which, Rachel Weisz and Colin Farrell just really hit me in the heart. Big time. And that's where it became evident that, he was moving away from stuff like Dogtooth and he was really getting into more, I think, mainstream dramatic storytelling, but with a sort of darker comedic cynicism about it, and that is definitely apparent in something like The Favorite, which won all kinds of awards. Olivia Colman, once again, Rachel Weisz, Emma Stone, but yeah, man, the newest from Yorgos has him reuniting with Emma Stone, and this is overall thoughts about this particular project, and I was floored by just how this movie was not necessarily what I expected it to be. Thankfully, I got the chance to see it when being a few weeks ago that I did get the chance to see it, and I've had enough time to ruminate on it significantly because I filmed an immediate rapido fuego for the socials Instagram and TikTok. How I hate you, but you must be utilized. In any event, I had an initial reaction and then I had a ruminative reaction where I just got the chance to let it sit and settle within me and stuff. And so initial reaction to this movie was that it was startling, it was breathtaking from a cinematography standpoint, from a costuming standpoint, and also from a performance standpoint. I like the fact that it was a little tongue-in-cheek in its approach to the Frankenstein story. You have a stellar cast. Now, all of these things are still steadfast and maintained. Mark Ruffalo, Emma Stone, Willem Dafoe. Yeah, you've got excessive amounts of talent from our core cast within this, and all of that I most definitely still feel just pristinely and reverently about. And this film is breathtaking to look at. The fact that it veers back and forth as our character's journey goes about between, from the black and white to the, the essence of color being implemented as, maturation transpires. This is a fascinating film in how visually it is also telling a progression and not just along with everything else that the characters are experiencing and portraying on screen. This is the one where I am still I'm ping-ponging back and forth as far as overall thoughts because of the fact that everything about this is masterful and everything about performances and everything are as well, but it's the sexualization of Emma Stone that I'm still really kind of trying to and honestly, the verdict is still not in because of the fact that there's a part of me that realizes it was part of, this particular character's journey. And I'm not spoiling things here, okay? This is a Frankenstein story, but it is a very different take on it in the fact that it has a different essence of repurposing that I don't want to spoil as far as how the character is resurrected and the connotations of what exactly is being resurrected and the manner in which, because in Frankenstein, there's pieces that are taken. And it's really about the specific pieces that are taken and combined in this that really make the very excessive sexy time, of what Emma Stone is going about to be what some, including myself, upon initial reaction may perceive as gratuitous. And that's where I'm just kind of still in the midst of internal debate. I know that this movie will resonate differently with women than it will with a man like me, especially with the fact that it explores everything from just the emergence of maturing and almost, what's the word that I'm looking for? Almost puberty and the sexual discovery and things of that nature. Because there is a childlike essence to somebody who is dead and being slowly brought back to life, and slowly, as you can tell, this is not like a Curse of Frankenstein, Christopher Lee, where there's no speaking, there's nothing of that nature. No. This is drastically different, and it's very much a just learning to function, and as the functionality in the brain increases, so does everything else. And actually, some things happen a little before and a little after in said regard, with with that being in mind. And so that's really, without spoiling stuff excessively, that's still the big conflicting thing within me, is I understand the nature of the sexploration in this movie. I'm more okay with it as I've thought about the journey of this character. Now, to display it is one thing, but to make it excessive and gratuitous because of the fact that Yorgos is, hey, Europeans, man, they're nowhere near as straight-laced as a lot of us, Americans. And so for that reason, man, yeah, I can understand where I may be like, I don't know, man. I'm pretty desensitized with sex and violence and all the craziness that is, displayed in a lot of horror films. So this film didn't shock me, but I'm just wondering if the excessiveness served the narrative. It's like, if it serves the narrative and it's on display, fine. When it becomes excessive and gratuitous, that's where the argument can be made. I understand why it was in the story and it served the story, but it's like the lingering shot when it doesn't need to linger, I guess, is the best way I can describe it. So I recommend the hell out of this movie because I know it's divisive and I know it is a work of brilliant artistic exhibition, both from a filmmaking standpoint, from a directorial standpoint, an acting standpoint. This is what award season is made for, is ambitious, degaff stuff like this that unabashedly does what it wants to. And so props in that regard. Story-wise, you have Willem Dafoe, and Willem Dafoe is your stand-in for your Dr. Frankenstein, but he had a father who abused him significantly and was also a brilliant sort of, scientist and experimenter of sorts, and so that is why he has various afflictions, both seen and unseen and mentioned later in the film. But, so he decides to resurrect this character, Emma Stone portrays her. He is very much, she calls him God, which is really funny. It's because that is actually a shortened version of his name. So, but just the fact that they were clever enough with the script to condense that and have her call him that for short. But he has a fatherly sort of like not sexual sort of thing. And there's even a character that he brings on to be his, kind of assistant, like Igor of sorts, but just not to that debilitated degree. And yeah, man, he's like, this woman is for your own sexual purposes, and Willem Dafoe, gives him a few explanations as to why, which I really appreciated. And that, I'm glad they didn't go that route. I'm very appreciative of that, because that stuff I find even more unsettling than any of the stuff that Emma Stone's character, as she matures and, becomes more cognizant of being, in this adult body. I would have found that significantly more upsetting if that was the case. And then you have Mark Ruffalo, who eventually shows up as a dude who's going to steal her away and take her and show her the world as she is becoming more cognizant, and the rampant rate of both her sexual appetite and her just intellect is refining, expanding, and aside from that, that's about, in this very lengthy movie, as much as I want to divulge. So it is a coming-of-age story in said regard, but for a dead person who has been resurrected by a mad scientist. And he's not even really mad. He's just he is a fractured, he's a damaged man, so to speak, but just not in a mental sort of state. I guess the argument could be made. But, veering into the acting, I would be shocked if Emma Stone didn't get an Oscar nomination for this, but then again, there's so much talent between, Girl from Past Lives and Killers of the Flower Moon. There's a lot of other very capably talented women in the Best Actress foray this particular year. I think she deserves a nomination because her progression, her transition, her story arc as a character, it's fascinating. At times it's revolting. It's often hilarious. It's so nuanced that I cannot sing her praises enough. And Mark Ruffalo plays a schmuck so wonderfully, dude. It's very amusing to me. Willem Dafoe, although he's not in quite as much of the flick as I was expecting, he's still really good. His assistant, I forget the name of the character, and I definitely don't know the name of the actor. He is a nice supplemental presence. Yeah, I mean, Yorgos brings out the best of his actors in this. I hate to make like the Wes Anderson sort of connotation, but yeah, as far as like bringing these eclectic actors and retrofitting them into your weird world that you have constructed and put together, I feel like Yorgos has really found a perfect means of which to do that, especially with these period pieces that he's become in his last 2 entries very fond of portraying, because Lobster was kind of dystopian alternate future, and then Favorite was obviously alternate past, and then this being sort of the same thing. There's a very interesting steampunk vibe to it too, as I veer into cinematography, the filmmaking standpoint. The costuming, everything that they put Emma Stone in as far as her outfits is redonkulous and just beautiful and breathtaking and so intricately put together, which I find very funny for the fact that she's the undead of sorts, and yet yeah, she brings about that sort of that beauty and grandiosity, and yet it really, the dichotomy of the strange things that she often does in this very debonair attire is really cool, and it brings about a lot of laughs, I'm not going to lie. And also the back and forth of different color palettes that they use throughout this. I mean, shot selection, everything. It is a sprawling epic. I do feel like the runtime is a little long, and they could have shaved down maybe 10, 15-ish sort of minutes, because the back half of the movie does drag a little bit, most notably when she gets involved with a particular profession that I don't want to divulge. But yet it is like one stop after another stop within her journey. It is very much, Emma Stone's character's journey within this, and and especially at the very end, where I believe the dude's name is Kristopher Abbott, and he was in a movie called Sanctuary earlier this year. Terrific actor. I believe he was in Possessor as well. He's awesome, dude. He's the new Wolfman. He's in this, and he plays a particular character that shows up late in the movie, and that was where I felt like the film especially dragged, and that's not spoiling anything, everybody. But the score was majestic and magical and whimsical, and also just evocative of that slight essence of danger, just that tinge of it, just dwelling because of the nature of this character. Just always dwelling within that bit of danger. So yeah, guys, I cannot recommend this enough, although it is not for the faint of heart, as far as if you're like averse to I don't know, I've seen a lot more sexually depraved movies than this, but I know a lot of other people who are very straight-laced and would be super offended by this movie. This is more middle of the road in that regard, and like it takes a lot to offend me, and that it's one thing to offend me, it's another thing for me to say it's excessive and doesn't really fit the narrative, and then it's another thing for me to say that it's lingered on too much, and the whole male gaze, and where you're just like, okay, we've seen enough to know that this is happening, and yet it keeps going and keeps going. That's the essence of the male gaze, y'all. And I feel like the male gaze is very present in this movie based on how long some of these scenes go. Do they fit the story? Most def. Do they need to go on as long as some of them do? Maybe not. But it is a daring movie. It is a bold artistic statement. And, props to Yorgos for once again making something that is not in any way like anything that he has done before. And, of course, being the horror show and the fact that this has roots within Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. That's why I just got done talking about it for the second time. We filmed this review, and there were some technical difficulties a week ago. So, in any event, everybody, I've been Jaime and Fuego. You can find me on all social media sectors, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I do little rapid, short reviews on TikTok every now and then. As much as I hate the tiki-talkies, they're a part of the process now. But like, share, subscribe this video here on The Horror Show. It means a hell of a lot to us. I'm about to jump back into spring classes at Arizona State for film and media studies. And so, yeah, these are a few of the last that I will be tossing up before that transpires. So, in any event, everybody, I've been Fuego. Y'all have been rad status. And until next time, Fright fans and all affinity of the artistic peeps, stay scared.